Welcome back to Placeologie. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Megan.
And we're excited to be back with our newest and biggest ranking yet, all 50 U.S. state flags.
That's right. We've done a deep dive into the state flag of all 50 states, including a little bit about the history and meaning of each of them, plus our opinion on their overall aesthetics, and assigned them each a ranking from the worst at number 50 to the best in the country at number 1. We even considered the North American Vexillological Association's 5 principles of good state flag design, and took a look at how they ranked them back in 2001.
A couple quick things to mention before we get started. First, this list is up to date as of June 2024, meaning we've included the newest Minnesota state flag, which was adopted earlier this year. Also, as always, this list is our opinion, which is subjective and may be different from yours, and you may think that our justification for some of them is a little bit silly, and for the sake of time, we may have to gloss over some in our ranking pretty fast. But feel free to sound off in the comments with what you would rank differently, and of course, like and subscribe to our channel if you're interested in seeing more videos like this one.
Alright, let's get started. Coming in at last place, number 50 on our list is New Jersey. Let's be honest, is this anyone's favorite state flag? Absolutely not. Because what is there to like about this flag? Not really anything. We couldn't even really give them credit for skipping the overused navy blue background, because somehow this beigey yellow color is worse.
Don't ask New Yorkers, but New Jersey really does have a lot going for it, from historic Gothic Princeton to the scenic Atlantic Ocean and Hudson River views, and overall the Garden State nickname draws thoughts of beautiful landscapes. But this flag celebrates none of that, drawing on agricultural heritage for their state seal instead to produce this flag that's neither iconic or attractive.
Next to last on our list is South Dakota, or as they seem to prefer it be called, the Mount Rushmore state. Maybe it's a conversation better suited for a video on state nicknames, but choosing to plaster the Mount Rushmore state across the flag just hits all the wrong notes for us.
South Dakota is constantly pushing promotional materials across the country recently, advertising all of the great natural beauty that they have to offer. And yet they chose the most commercialized and, dare we say, overhyped aspect of the state for the flag. The state is rich in Native American history too, which makes the Mount Rushmore choice controversial because the Sioux Nation and the state have a complicated history on the taking of the land that Mount Rushmore sits on.
Add to all of that the terrible addition of the state seal on the flag, which looks like it was copy and pasted in Microsoft Paint, and you have a state flag that just doesn't set the best foot forward for the state. Our vote? They should go back to a version more similar to this flag that used to rep the state from 1909 to 1963. A classic.
Up to number 48. Virginia. Known for being steeped in American history and draped in gorgeous Blue Ridge Mountains. Virginia is for lovers, right? Wrong. Not if you ask their flag, which says that the state is known for killing tyrants and standing on them. Maybe we should give them credit for not making it look particularly bloody or brutal, but that seems like a low bar to have to clear.
Even looking past the strange foot-on-the-neck imagery, this flag just doesn't have much going for it. Time to ditch the state seal against a boring blue background. We get that it's historic and maybe it has some die-hard fans out there in Virginia, but honestly, Virginia has been past due for a redesign since John Wilkes Booth shouted, "Sic semper tyrannis," after assassinating Lincoln.
Number 47 on our list is Florida, and to explain what's really wrong with Florida, we really have to show you Alabama's flag as well, although we'll dive into it a bit higher on the list. So this is Alabama's flag, the simple red X, or St. Andrew's cross, on a white background. Now, this is Florida's flag. Seems like someone has been copying someone's homework, doesn't it?
Well, you would be right. Alabama's flag was adopted 5 years earlier than Florida's flag. Florida's originally just featured the state seal against a white background. Yawn. But the story goes that the governor worried it would look like a white flag of surrender when hanging limp, so the red cross was added, making it not only a copy of Alabama's flag, but an arguably worse one with the dreaded state seal being added as well. Next.
Coming in at number 46 is Missouri. Have we mentioned state seals and flags shouldn't mix? Yeah, that's really a theme here. At least Missouri's state seal isn't particularly offensive, but this flag is just plain boring. And we have particular beef with this flag because it actually looks more like the flag of a country than a state. It's a lot like the flag of the Netherlands, actually, just with the seal and stars added on top. Surely someone could think of something a little more unique and identifiable for Missouri. The famous Gateway to the West, the home of Mark Twain, the Show Me State, and so on. Lots of room for improvement here.
North Dakota is 45th on our list, mostly because it's just not noteworthy. The eagle, which 8 other states also have on their flag, just kind of gives the impression of, yep, we're a U.S. state, but doesn't really give it any identity of its own. If your flag is so unrecognizable that you have to put the state name on the flag, you're probably doing it wrong.
I will say, though, the sunburst crown thing at the top is nice and does show some promise. There was a push to adopt a new flag in the 1950s that ultimately failed, kinda reasonably so, because their suggestion was a little too John Deere core, but they still had the right idea with something more unique. Someone start a petition. It's time to get the redesign conversation going again.
Georgia. Number 44 on our list and one of the newest designs of the state flag, only adopted in 2003. Why did they redesign it in 2003, you ask? Well, because from 1956 to 2001, the main part of their flag was the well-known Confederate battle flag.
And before you say, wow, it's sad how long that stuck around, guess what? Brace yourself, because this current flag is completely based on the first national flag of the Confederacy, better known as the Stars and Bars. That's right, not a thing has actually changed. You'd think the redesign was to speak toward a better future, but no, they just muddied it and made their flaws a little less recognizable. Georgia, you deserve so much more.
Up to number 43 on our list, we have Nevada. And yes, we say Nevada. Boring. There's really nothing to love here. It's a boring blue background with a little design on it, and asymmetrically off to one side too, which is the most egregious part. This is one of those states that would do well with going back to an old version of their flag, particularly this one they used from 1905 to 1915, which makes a lot bigger of a statement. Or they could use this design proposed in 2001, which won awards and was well liked, but didn't make it to the point of adoption. Could've, would've, still should've.
Excelsior! Number 42 on our list is New York. Another state seal against a blue background that leaves us wishing for more, most especially because it's New York.
There is such endless inspiration to draw from, not even just from New York City, where you could pull from the iconic Art Deco and modern architecture, but also from the natural beauty of the state. The Hudson River Valley is one of our personal favorite places on Earth, and I think that's what they're going for in the seal with the Teletubby sun above, but it just doesn't satisfy like it should.
Aside from the E pluribus unum added in 2020, which only serves to add clunkiness, the state flag and seal have been largely unchanged since 1778. The city and state have changed so much since then into the melting pot that it is today, so it's high time for the most modern of redesigns to reflect that.
Next on our list at number 41 is Wisconsin. Are we sad that this flag isn't just a big wheel of cheese? Well, yes. But then again, with everything this flag has going on, who can tell? Wisconsin lawmakers have complained for decades about how complicated and costly this flag is to reproduce, and how difficult it is to distinguish it from every other state flag with a blue background. They even added the name and year of founding in 1981 to do just that.
We're sure everything in this coat of arms has some kind of meaning, but it's honestly overkill and in need of some serious streamlining. In fact, let's throw out the whole thing, start with a Green Bay Packers cheesehead, and go from there. Now that would be a top 10 flag, no question.
Maybe our most controversial choice yet. Number 40 on our list is Hawaii. We admit we had a hard time with where to put this one, because it really is a nice, recognizable design that seems well liked by both Hawaiians and vexillologists. But does nobody see the major problem here? Hint, hint. The upper left corner? Country fought a whole war to be independent from?
That's right, that's the United Kingdom flag. And while we've read the history and understand why it's historically there, it just doesn't set well with us that Hawaii would be clinging on to this vestige of their colonized past over something that celebrates more of their native heritage. After all, isn't that what state flags are supposed to do? Celebrate the independent qualities of each state that makes up the U.S.? Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments.
Now that we have the bottom 10 out of the way, let's skip through some of this low to mid crew a little faster, shall we? Numbers 39, 38, 37, and 36 on our list are Idaho, Pennsylvania, Nebraska, and Michigan, respectively. And these four are pretty easy to group together, because they're all pretty much the same thing. Either the state seal or the state coat of arms against a blue background. Been there, seen that, not impressed. Except maybe by the dancing mooses and the term circumspice, all found on Michigan's flag, because who are we kidding? That's fun.
All four states have seen efforts to redesign their flag in recent years, and we can certainly see why. Each of these states have more to offer in natural beauty and history and culture than is being represented here. Idaho and Nebraska's seals do have nods to their agricultural heritage, but it's overcomplicated and hard to see. Nebraska's is so hard to see that it even flew upside down outside the state house for 10 days in 2017, and no one even noticed. How embarrassing is that?
Michigan's flag is missing an emphasis on what should be the most obvious element of all, the Great Lakes. Even just a map of the Great Lakes against a blue background would be a better flag. Quick, someone, draw it up. And speaking of drawing it up, that's exactly what someone did in creating the Keystone flag for Pennsylvania, which has many people pushing for it to be the official new state flag. We agree, it's exactly the sort of icon that the state needs, what all of these four states need.
Numbers 34 and 35 on our list are neighboring states, Massachusetts and Connecticut. The two states have commonalities geographically and historically, being two of the 6 states that make up New England. And as it turns out, they also both have flags that try and fail to showcase their history. The Native American on Massachusetts' flag, for example, is supposed to represent an Algonquian, native to Massachusetts, but was instead modeled on an Ojibwe chief, defeating the intent of the depiction. They did go with a white background though, which at least separates it from the boring blue of so many others like Connecticut.
On the Connecticut flag, the most prominent symbol in the center of the flag is 3 grapevines, which are supposed to be symbolic of the 3 smaller colonies that formed Connecticut. But why grapes? And what are those plants around the edge? Nobody seems to really have an answer, as Connecticut is not widely known for grape production or agriculture generally, but you wouldn't know it from looking at the flag.
Coming in 33rd on our list is Kentucky. You may be wondering what makes this one better than any other blue background state seal flags, and I think to us there is something that just seems slightly more elevated and cohesive about this one. The imagery is pretty simple, the flowers below the seal are the state flower, which is pretty straightforward, and I think everything about it represents the unity message that they were clearly going for pretty well. Could it be more exciting? Yes, and that's why it's still in the bottom half, but it could certainly be worse.
At 32, we have Washington. The state flag of Washington is the only flag to feature a past president and founding father on its flag, and I bet you couldn't possibly guess which one it is. Yep, that's right. The state of Washington has none other than George Washington on their state flag. More specifically, it has an image of George Washington on a bright blue background placed inside the circular state seal in gold, which is then overlaid on top of a green background.
To be clear, there's nothing wrong with Washington's state flag per se, but choosing to show Washington on the state flag, when the state really has very little in common with Washington other than him being the state's namesake. George Washington never saw the land of Washington, never visited, and certainly wasn't from there. So while it's fine that Washington is named for the U.S.'s first president, it doesn't seem to add to the state's unique identity beyond the use of green for the background, which is to represent the evergreens that grow throughout the state.
Moving up the list, we have the neighboring states of New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine at 31, 30, and 29, respectively. Be honest for a second. If we took away the state names, would you be able to tell which is which among these 3? My guess is no. You might think the one with the ship belongs to Maine, with its 3,500 miles of gorgeous rugged coastline, but no, it belongs to New Hampshire, which only has about 100 miles of coast.
Right. New Hampshire is known more as the Granite State and less for its coast than some of its New England counterparts, so the focus on maritime history doesn't seem representative of the whole state, even if it is a pretty seal. Maine, on the other hand, is probably best known for its coastline, but that representation is lost here. In fact, Maine and Vermont's flags are probably the most easily confused with each other of any on this list, because they both feature a single pine tree in the center with a boring blue background. And while Vermont may be well represented by the pine tree, we still think it and both the others deserve better. In fact, better options exist. Several efforts have been made over the years to return Vermont's flag to the historic Green Mountain Boys flag, seen here. It may not be our absolute favorite, but it would surely be a much more iconic representative of the Green Mountain State and its history.
Maine has several more modernized options that exist, like the state bicentennial flag of 2020 that we're a fan of, and they are actively considering a referendum on whether to return to a version of the 1901 state flag seen here. It may be simple, but again, much more streamlined and something that would be easily identifiable, so it seems like a win to us.
Number 28 on our list is Arkansas. We actually initially had this one ranked higher on the list, in the 10 to 20 range, but then we looked into the history. Record scratch.
Right. The symbolism is a little complicated. 25 stars on the border represent Arkansas being the 25th state, and the bottom 3 stars represent, among other things, the 3 nations to which Arkansas has belonged: France, Spain, and the U.S. But the 4th star, all by itself up there above the state name, has exactly one official meaning. It represents the Confederacy.
To be clear, we love the diamond design as something easily identifiable for the state, and it's simple enough too. Even the state name appearing in the middle, which we normally don't like, doesn't bother us too much. But the Confederacy representation does, and just like Georgia, which ranked in our bottom 10, it's time for it to go.
At number 27, we have Iowa. Overall, it isn't bad. In fact, our overwhelming first thought is that it is somewhat pleasing to view. But then it hits you. Doesn't it feel a little French? Why, yes, or mais oui, if you will. It does, and it was intended to be that way as well. The tricolor flag is intended to pay homage to Iowa's origination as a French colony. However, the center white area is smaller than that of the French flag, and of course, Iowa's flag includes a banner with its motto held in the beak of a flying eagle, an image that is represented in the state seal. It is one of 9 states with an eagle on its flag.
Paired with the reuse of the French tricolor, this left us with the feeling that the originality and creativity were somewhat lacking when it came to this flag's design. And then you get to the last part of the flag. In big red letters it reads, Iowa, in a font that makes the A and the W appear off balance with one another, which seriously impacts the overall aesthetic of the flag. Nothing too bad, we just would want a little more identity when it comes down to it.
Rounding out the bottom half at number 26 is North Carolina. Their flag was originally created when the state joined the Confederacy for the Civil War. At the time, it featured a red vertical panel on the left side of a flag with a white star in the center of this panel. 2 dates surrounded the star, the date of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence and the date the state joined the Confederacy. The other 2/3 of the flag had white and blue horizontal panels, with the blue on top and the white beneath.
Today, the flag has changed, but not by much. The top and the left-hand panels have been switched, with the blue now as the left-hand panel, which has been made narrower. The star remains, but now has an NC to each side of it, and a new date underneath, the date of the Halifax Resolves. Overall, a reasonably attractive flag, but perhaps a little busy and lacking some memorability.
All right, we've crossed in the top half. Number 25 on our list is Alabama, which we told you we'd revisit back during Copycat Florida. Alabama's flag falls squarely in the middle of our list because we truly just don't know how to feel about it. On the one hand, it is classic, simple, and fairly identifiable. Those are things we look for. But on the other hand, it is so simplistic that A, it kind of isn't identifiable, and B, it's really meaningless.
Some people think it's a nod to the Confederacy. Some people think it's a mix of Scotland and England's flags. And there's other guesses too, but nobody really knows the truth, and we won't speculate here. The point is, we couldn't justify a lower placement because it does meet a lot of the qualifications of what we think a good flag is, but it's just not something we're really excited about either.
Time for another grouping. Number 24 is Kansas, 23 is West Virginia, 22 is Montana, and 21 is Illinois in our ranking. And we decided to talk about this stretch together because they really all share some common denominators. They all made a good attempt to represent their history and landscape, but came up with cluttered and overcomplicated results.
All 4 flags have elements that show real promise toward making a truly good flag, or some improved upon version of what they are now. But for the most part, they need to do that by ditching their state seals or coat of arms and pulling out 1 or 2 important things. Kansas's sunflower, Montana's oro y plata motto, West Virginia's distinctive border. These are all things that could make for a simple, iconic flag that would inspire pride, and bumper stickers.
But instead, West Virginia's is bogged down with too much symbolism. Montana and Kansas went overboard with the landscape, and Illinois is overcomplicated with grass. Imagine telling elementary school students to draw their state flag in any of these states. They wouldn't know where to start. It's too much. Fortunately, at least Illinois out of these 4 is working on a redesign of their flag. Hopefully they move in that direction of simplifying, so it can move up this list even more.
Let's go, top 20. At this point in our ranking, we like large parts of each flag, but still think a couple of tweaks could make them really top tier. 20th on our list is Oklahoma, and in its case, we really like what's going on with the Native American symbolism in the middle. Obviously more so than just about any other state, Oklahoma's history is so intertwined with Native American history, so this seems like a natural fit.
We only have 2 real issues with Oklahoma's flag, the first being the color, because so many others use a similar blue, and the second being the word Oklahoma. Fun fact, the flag only featured the symbolism without the word Oklahoma until 1941, when they added it to supposedly combat illiteracy? That seems silly, to be quite honest, and we think it's time to take it back off. The kids will be alright.
Fully into the top 20 now. At 19, we have Oregon. Perhaps the most unique thing about the Oregon flag is that it's dual-sided, the only current flag to be that way. On one side, it features the words State of Oregon above symbolism from the state seal, both of which are above the year 1859, which is the year that Oregon became a state. On the reverse side, it features a beaver. All designs are shown in gold on a navy blue background.
Yes, the navy blue background, the use of symbolism from the seal, and the state's name on the flags are all things that we've noted as not being our favorite for flag design. But having a reverse side really gives Oregon's flag some extra points. If it were up to us, the reverse side that depicts the beaver would be what we'd choose to keep. In fact, there have been competitions for a new state flag, many that incorporate the idea of putting the state mascot front and center. But in the end, the people of Oregon chose to stick to the current flag.
Alright, at number 18 we have Delaware, the first state. Delaware's flag features a coat of arms that includes a shield with 3 stripes and agricultural items such as an ear of corn and an ox. Above the shield is a ship giving a nod to Delaware's nautical history, and to either side of the shield is a farmer and a soldier. Beneath this is the date, December 7th, 1787. All of this is placed on a tan diamond which overlays a blue background.
Here, we gave Delaware's flag points for not being on a navy blue background, but instead being on a lighter blue, which is referred to in descriptions of the flag as being colonial blue, which was selected to reflect General George Washington's uniform colors. We also gave points for including meaningful symbolism that is relevant to the origins of the state.
Overall, the colors are appealing and the imagery on the flag is attractive, which is why this one scored in our top 20.
Moving on up to number 17. Ohio. What an interesting flag you have. With the swallowtail shape, also known as a burgee shape, and patriotic American colors, this flag grabs your attention instantly. It even has its own name, the Ohio burgee. It consists of a blue triangle on the left-hand side with 17 stars and 2 interlaid circles in red and white in the center of the triangle. The rest of the flag, which forms a swallowtail shape, consists of vertical red, white, and blue stripes.
This flag has quality symbolism too. The 2 circles resemble an O for Ohio, and is also meant to represent a buckeye, the state nut, and a reference to Ohio's state nickname, the Buckeye State. Additionally, the 17 stars represent Ohio's place as the 17th state added to the Union. The flag is easily identifiable and unique. Our only criticism is that it's a little bit busy, with all the stripes, triangles, non-rectangular shape, and stars. That's why Ohio finds its place as number 17 on our list, and that's not meant to be an ironic nod to Ohio being the 17th state.
Icons, queens! Numbers 16 and 15 on our list are two of the most well-known flags in the country, California and Texas. We can already feel some of your fingers flying, leaving us comments about why one of these two flags is the real number one or deserves higher. And that's fair, but as iconic as these two are, there's still just something that's not our favorite about both of them.
For California, we honestly never really understood it until reading its history. I'm sure we aren't alone in that we don't really associate bears with California, more often known as the Golden State and thought of for its coast or desert. And in fact, the California grizzly bear shown here has been extinct for 100 years now. California Republic also seems strange, as it more memorializes an incredibly short-lived independent Mexican state that predates modern California. All of it is just a choice, but we get it. It's beloved and will probably never change.
Now about the Lone Star State. It's classic, iconic, and beloved, and we're not really saying to change that. It's just, doesn't it seem a little simple? If you look up all the flags that have flown over Texas, which is literally the basis for a whole theme park, it just seems a little strange that all of that history boiled down to this. It's historic, yes, but we feel similar to how we felt about Alabama's flag, in that it doesn't have any meaning. States farther ahead on this list have equally similar flags, but that have a deep history and symbolism, and Texas's just doesn't. But we love it anyway, right?
Moving along, coming in at number 14 on our list is Louisiana, the Pelican State. We're not exactly sure what we expected from Louisiana's flag. Maybe a fleur-de-lis, something to do with the Louisiana Purchase, or a Mardi Gras Cajun-inspired design. So we were a little surprised to be greeted by these pelicans at first, and especially by the drops of blood on the front. But somehow, we're not mad at it.
Not at all, in fact. We're kind of in love with these pelicans the more we learn about their symbolism and history. We won't get into it all here for the sake of time, but safe to say the pelican lore runs deep, and is based around the idea of pelicans being attentive and devoted to their young. It's fascinating symbolism, unexpected and unique, and really something that we think Louisianians should be proud of in the end. Hence the high placement here. Go Pelicans!
Number 13 on our list is the smallest state, Rhode Island. The highest ranking of the New England states on this list, we really like the simplicity of the design and colors. It says what it needs to without being overly fussy, and the anchor clearly identifies it as a state proud of its maritime history. We do wish it was a perfect square if it's going to be this close. Technically it's a 29 to 33 ratio, and we're on the fence about whether the Hope banner is really necessary. But all in all, it's pretty well done.
Taking the 12th spot on our list is Indiana. We were pleasantly surprised by this one, mostly because our expectations were pretty low for Indiana. No offense to any Hoosiers out there. Indiana has some great spots, but it just isn't a state with a particularly strong identity or well-known attractions. We think this torch with stars is just fine for the state, an interesting and identifiable design that we think most everyone can get on board with. The only thing we would change is to take away the word Indiana from above the torch, which is actually more in line with the original design.
Alright, as we move into these top 11, we just wanted to quickly say that we truly had a hard time with the rest of these. For the most part, we think that they're all great representations of their states, and mostly should stay like they are. So, with that said, number 11 is the newest flag on our list, Minnesota.
That's right. Minnesota's flag was just officially adopted on May 11th, 2024, less than a month before we made this list. And the change couldn't have come sooner. Minnesota's old flag was a boring but overcrowded mess that would have probably ranked in the bottom 10 or 15 of this list. Fortunately, the state agreed. They launched a public campaign that received over 2,000 submissions, pared it down to a few options, selected this one as the winner, and then made a few tweaks to it to come up with this final version.
And we love it. It's sleek, modern, and pretty quickly recognizable. In the 21st century world of flags being used for bumper stickers, t-shirts, and the like, this design opens lots of possibilities. We do wish that they hadn't oversimplified the star quite so much from the original submission, though, and the design doesn't scream Minnesota as much as some of the other options did. Honestly, our first impression was that it reminded us of a maritime flag, which might make sense for a coastal state, but doesn't as much for Minnesota. But again, huge step up, so no complaining here.
Top 10, woo! And the number 10 spot goes to Alaska. This simple, poignant design depicting Polaris, the North Star, and the constellation Ursa Major, the Big Dipper, was one that we liked as soon as we saw it, both visually and because the symbolism is pretty clear. It's the northernmost state, hence the North Star. Ursa Major symbolizes a bear, indigenous to Alaska, and Alaska stargazing is well known and uniquely amazing among the states. But some of the history behind the flag makes us like it even more.
Right. Did you know Alaska's state flag is the product of a design competition in which 700 schoolchildren's designs were considered? And the competition was nearly 100 years ago, well before Alaska was even a state, and the winner was an Alaska native, a 14-year-old orphan named Benson. What a fun way to choose a flag.
At number 9, we have Tennessee. The Tennessee flag features 3 white stars overlaying a blue circle on a red background. The right-hand edge of the flag has 2 thin white and blue stripes, which were added more as a design consideration than to have any real symbolism. The 3 stars in the center of the flag do have symbolism, however, representing East, Middle, and Western Tennessee, with the blue circle that encompasses them representing unity among the 3 territories of the state. For legibility, simplicity in design, and marketability, we just knew that Tennessee's state flag had to be in our top 10.
8th place in our ranking goes to Colorado, the classic sea flag. What more could you want? It's colorful, easy to recreate, and has proven popular with Coloradans over the years. We're pretty sure we've seen this Colorado sea worn on dozens of hats over the years, which in our opinion is exactly the sort of prideful branding that states should hope for out of a flag.
It's also great in that it's packed with symbolism, if you care to dive into that, like how the C officially stands for 3 things: the state name, Colorado, the year that it became a state, which is 1876 or the U.S. Centennial, and the state flower, which is the columbine.
Honestly, this is the toughest part of the list, because any one in this stretch could have easily been in the top 2 or 3, including Colorado's. But this is our opinion, of course, and we just prefer the remaining 7 because we think they have a slight edge when it comes to state identity.
Coming in at number 7 on our list is Wyoming. Let's be honest, do any of us really know much about Wyoming? The least populous state by a wide margin, Wyoming is often an afterthought, known mostly for its one overwhelmingly redeeming quality: nature. Yellowstone National Park, Old Faithful, Grand Teton, Jackson Hole, all bucket list destinations that are so iconically American, and they're all in Wyoming. What better way to showcase the state's natural wonder than a symbol of the wildlife found there, an American bison?
We'll admit, this flag would be leaps and bounds better if they took the seal off the middle. But otherwise, this flag checks all of our boxes, with a simple, identifiable design that showcases something uniquely Wyoming. Top it off with the fact that the red border is meant to symbolize Native Americans and the blood of pioneers, and it seems to hit every mark that it should. Scrape the seal, and it's a 10 out of 10 for us.
Arizona is number 6 on our list, with this sunburst of a flag that immediately makes us think of the sun setting over the desert. The colors are bright and bold, with 13 rays emanating from a star rather than a sun. This mirrors the U.S. flag having 13 stripes for the 13 colonies, but in this case, the colors are inspired by the flag of Spain, representing Arizona's heritage as the site of Spanish expedition. Take notes, Hawaii. This is how you incorporate representation of another country into your own.
Exactly. Also, the copper color of the star signifies Arizona being the biggest copper-producing U.S. state, so there are several ties to state history in the flag, which we feel is important. In all, this is a great design that's one of the most identifiable and bold in the country, and it's fun, which is a quality that so many other state flags lack. Arizonans are and should be flying it proudly.
At number 5, we have New Mexico, the land of enchantment. And do you know what is also enchanting? Their gorgeous state flag. Unique in being only one of 4 states to not use the color blue, and only one of those 4 states to not use the color white, the New Mexico state flag is instantly recognizable. It features the red sun symbol of the Zia people on a golden yellow background. The flag was designed to reference the history of Native American and Hispano culture within the state. The uniqueness of the flag, with its meaning and symbolism, really set New Mexico apart. And did we mention that it's also very aesthetically pleasing?
To the Beehive State. Coming in at number 4 on our list is Utah, with the second newest flag on our list adopted as official in March 2024. The great thing about this new flag is that it isn't just a replacement, but a redesign and an improvement on what came before. The former flag was yet another state seal against a blue background, one buzzing with bees and American flags and flowers. It centered around the state motto of industry, but it wasn't cohesive, so they stripped it down to the basics and rebuilt a flag with the same core ideas but better execution, and we think they nailed it.
Right. From the iconic beehive to the mountain peaks to the multiple nods to the indigenous Native American tribes, Utah now has a flag that's visually exciting. Some modern reworks like Minnesota err on the side of too simple, but this one strikes that perfect balance to make it great.
Bum-ba-bum! We're so excited about our top 3, all of which nearly took the number 1 spot and title of Best State Flag. We may be a little biased, having lived in 2 of these 3 states, but that's also part of how we know their flags are truly great and also beloved by so many. The next state, number 3 on our list, Maryland, is maybe the most shining example of that.
Is Maryland's flag the prettiest thing we could have imagined? No, probably not. It's actually so visually stimulating that it's almost overwhelming with the contrasting colors, angles, and shapes. But that is exactly what makes it so iconic. There's no doubt that the Maryland flag is recognizable, maybe the most easy to distinguish from all other state flags. It's based on Baron Baltimore's historic coat of arms, was adopted as the state flag in 1904, and will almost certainly never change because it's so beloved.
Right, that's what's truly so great about it, is just how much people love this flag. It doesn't just reflect the state's history, it's a part of the state identity. And on any given day in Maryland, you'll encounter it on bumper stickers, hats, shirts, shorts, swimwear, you name it. And not just in Maryland either, this thing is nationwide. Once you start spotting it, you'll never stop. It's a win for branding and for state pride, and we couldn't be prouder to have lived under this flag for a couple of years ourselves.
All right, if you've been keeping track, you know there's just 2 states left competing for that top spot. So we'll take this moment and remind you to like and subscribe to our channel if you like this video and want to see more like it. And taking that runner-up number 2 spot on our list is Mississippi.
Mississippi's flag is another newer one on our list, finally adopted on January 11th, 2021. Why do we say finally? Well, you probably know the story, but this was the flag prior to 2021. Yeah, not the choice we would have gone with. Obviously, it was just a blatant tribute to the Confederacy, and in the state with the highest percentage of black population in the country, no less. After public pressure mounted through the 2010s, this gorgeous flag with the recognizable magnolia in the center was born, and it's a true triumph.
And that magnolia is a big part of why we love the new flag, because it is the most identifiably Mississippi thing we or most others could think of. The circle of stars around it is an elegant touch, with an indigenous symbol star at the top showing inclusivity. How far we've come, right? Most improved award by far. No notes on the design from us either. We love the striped sides and the colors they chose. The story of this flag shows progress and represents everything good that America can be, and it's why we almost gave it the top spot.
But, okay, we're biased. The number 1 flag on our list, drumroll, is none other than that of our home state, South Carolina! There's just no denying that the Palmetto State has the best representation of any on the national stage, with a flag design steeped in history, both in what it memorializes and in how long it's been the emblem of our state. The crescent moon in particular has endured as a state symbol since it was flown by South Carolina troops during the American Revolution, and the palmetto tree speaks to the defense of Fort Moultrie during that same period.
The simple design of navy blue and white is iconic, recognizable, historic, and representative of the state. All of the hallmarks of good flag design that we developed over the course of this list. And just like Colorado, Maryland, and other iconic flags, the Palmetto Crescent combo is a win for branding and state pride, arguably the most commercialized state flag out there. We've spent time in other states where we couldn't tell you what the flag looks like after several days there.
Looking at you, New York.
But there is no way you could say the same in South Carolina, where the state flag is about as frequently spotted as the American flag in various forms.
In the end, as fair as we tried to be everywhere else, there's just no other flag that has the same heart and soul behind it as the South Carolina flag. It's perfect in every way we can think of, 10s across the board, and that's why it's at the top of our ranking.
We hope you agree with our list, or at least had fun learning and following along as we ranked the 50 state flags. Sound off in the comments with what you would put in the number 1 spot, and let us know what you'd like us to rank next here at Placeologie. Thanks for watching!